Shalom, I'm Angel. Welcome to Healthy in Heart. Today I want to talk to you about becoming a pattern detective, learning to notice what your life keeps repeating. You've already noticed it. The same argument resurfacing in a different relationship, the same exhaustion showing up every autumn, the same headline that makes you angry before you've even read past the title. You noticed and then you moved on. You moved on because life does not usually pause long enough to ask what any of it means. But it does mean something. Patterns are not coincidences that are stacked on top of each other. They're information. Your body, your relationships, your habits, and even your reaction to the news are constantly repeating themselves. And every repetition is telling you, or trying to tell you, something you have not fully heard yet. Learning to notice that is not a personality trait some people are born with and others are not. It is a mindset. It is a skill, and it can be practiced. And once you start practicing it, you start seeing patterns everywhere. This is where the pattern detective mindset begins. A pattern detective is not a cynic, and this is not about becoming suspicious of everyone and everything around you. A pattern detective is simply someone who has stopped accepting the first explanation as the only explanation. Instead of reacting to a single event, a pattern detective asks whether this event has happened before. Instead of trusting a headline, a pattern detective wonders what the headline left out. Instead of assuming a feeling is random, a pattern detective asks what conditions led to produce that feeling. None of this requires special training. It does require slowing down long enough to ask a second question before settling on the first answer. Consider how differently two people respond to the same recurring symptom. One person treats each flare-up as an isolated bad day. The other starts asking what those days have in common. Same body, same symptom, but only one of them is collecting evidence. Only one of them will eventually find the thread. So if patterns are so revealing, why do so many of us miss them? Part of the answer lives in how the human brain is wired. Once we form a belief about ourselves, our health, or our circumstances, or even our world, we naturally start noticing information that confirms it quietly, discounting information that challenges it. Psychologists call this confirmation bias, and it is considered one of the most well-established patterns in human reasoning. It is not a clear character flaw. It is simply how an efficient brain conserves energy, and it happens largely outside of our awareness. The trouble is that confirmation bias does not just distort what we believe about the world, it distorts what we notice about ourselves. If you have already decided that you are simply an anxious person, a tired person, or an unlucky person, you will stop asking what conditions are producing that anxiety, that fatigue, and that pattern of misfortune. The label becomes the explanation, and the search for a deeper cause quietly ends. The pattern detective, on the other hand, refuses to let the label be the final word. That label is only the beginning of the question. Patterns are a language that your whole being speaks. Healing was never meant to be compartmentalized. Your body, mind, and spirit are woven together, and when something is off in one, it rarely stays contained in that one specific area. A pattern of physical exhaustion is often tangled up with a pattern of emotional overextension. A pattern of spiritual dryness often shows up first as irritability or a shortened temper. This is why pattern detecting cannot stop at symptoms. It has to reach further into rhythm, into relationship, into rest. Consider Shabbat. It was never given as a religious formality, but as a rhythm woven into creation itself. If you want to learn more about that, read my book, creation needs the Sabbath. Time that heals was never just for Jews. But it is a rhythm woven into creation itself, a pattern of succession that interrupts striving before striving becomes exhaustion. When someone burns out repeatedly, the pattern is rarely a mystery. It is usually the absence of that rhythm, and ignored long enough that the body finally forces the stop that no one chose willingly. The same is true for relationships or consumer habits of the way we process fear when a new headline breaks. A recent outbreak tied to fresh produce is a good example. Fear spread faster than facts, and the pattern worth noticing was not really about the produce at all. It was about how quickly panic outruns evidence when something threatens what we thought was safe. And once you start looking for patterns in one area of your life, you start seeing them everywhere. That's not paranoia, that is pattern literacy. Becoming a pattern detective is a practice, not a personality upgrade that happens overnight. It starts with a handful of honest questions that are asked consistently rather than occasionally. So when something repeats, ask what conditions were present each time. When a claim provokes a strong emotional reaction, ask where that claim originated and who benefits if you believe it. When a habit keeps resurfacing, despite your best intentions, ask what need it might be quietly meeting. Writing things down matters more than most people expect. A pattern that lives only in memory isn't easy to explain away or forget. A pattern that's written on a page, dated, and specific becomes much harder to ignore. This is one reason a simple journal kept consistently often reveals more truth than months of vague self-reflection ever could. I cannot tell you how many times in my own health journey I have wished I had kept better records. I have never once wished I had not documented enough. And curiosity has to stay at the center of this practice. The goal is never to catch yourself in a mistake. The goal is to understand what your life has been trying to hand you all along, or what your body has been trying to teach you all along. What has it been screaming for that you haven't heard? And this practice extends naturally beyond your own body into everything you consume. When a supplement advertisement promises a dramatic result, ask what evidence supports that claim and who benefits if you believe it without question. When a news story provokes an immediate emotional reaction, ask whether that reaction is proportional to the actual facts or whether fear has simply outrun the evidence. When a piece of advice sounds true because everyone around you repeats it, ask whether repetition is being mistaken for proof. Pattern detecting also applies to relationships, though this is often the hardest place to practice it honestly. If a particular conversation leaves you feeling small every time it happens, that repetition is data. Whether or not you want to examine it, what it means is up to you. If a season of the year consistently brings the same grief or the same restlessness, that timing is not a coincidence that's worth dismissing. Patterns rarely announce themselves loudly. They simply keep showing up until you finally decide to pay attention. None of this requires a dramatic overhaul of how you live. It requires one small shift: noticing instead of assuming, asking instead of accepting, and writing instead of forgetting. Over time, that single shift compounds into something much larger than the sum of its parts. And sometimes, patterns reveal what we would rather not see. Not every pattern is comfortable to notice. Sometimes the pattern points to a relationship that keeps costing more than it gives. Sometimes it points to a coping habit that has quietly become an identity. Sometimes it points to a belief about yourself that was formed years ago, that was never actually true, but has shaped decision after decision since. This is where a pattern detective needs more than curiosity. This is where honesty becomes essential, because the temptation is always to reframe the evidence so it hurts less. But truth does not heal because it feels comfortable. Truth heals because it is finally accurate, and accuracy is the only foundation strong enough to build real change on. Jehovah did not design you to live in denial of what your own life is showing you. He designed patterns into creation itself, into seasons, into sowing and harvest, into rest and labor, so that paying attention would come naturally when we are willing to look. Learning to read the patterns in your own life is not a betrayal of faith. It is an extension of it. But healing begins with what you're willing to see. You do not need to solve every pattern in your life this week. You do not even need to fully understand what a pattern means the first time you notice it. You only need to start writing it down. Start asking the second question. Start refusing to let the first explanation be the only one you consider. That is the entire foundation of the pattern detective mindset. It's not certainty. It's not perfection. It's just a willingness to keep looking until the evidence finally makes sense. You're not the only one who has noticed these repetitions in your life. You are simply the first one that's been brave enough to start asking what they mean. What do they point to? You were never meant to repeat what you have not yet examined. Ask the second question and then write down what you find. I am frequently in the process of creating trackers, and I have a few in the works now. I would love company while I finish refining them. If you would enjoy helping test pattern detection tools like the one I talk about in the next couple podcasts, before they are shared with the world, I would be honored to have you apply through the Healthy in Hearts Book Insiders Club. You are welcome to apply for more than the wellness program tester role alone. There is room for beta testers, advanced reader copy readers, launch team members, and recipe testers too. And many hands make refining these tools far stronger than one voice working alone. So I hope this has been beneficial. Until next time, remember to stay healthy in heart.